Well, howdy, campers. Oh,
What are you doing?
buddy, do you need? You look so pale. Do you need some sunscreen?
No, Nick, we are inside.
Okay. Do you need some snacks, bud? You want some
Nah,
snacks?
I'm alright.
You need this knife. It's dangerous out in these parts, buddy.
Welcome to the Too Bad We Didn't Get the Cars podcast. I'm your co-host, David Kabushi Cars.
And
We are joined once again by Vanessa.
our lovely co-host. I'm Nick Scarpin Auto, and here with us today, we have a 2015
Yeah.
Honda,
No.
Mazda,
No.
Ford,
Chrysler
GT,
300.
Chrysler
2015 Chrysler 300.
300. As you can see, I am all camped out and ready to go because it is summertime. It's precisely the middle of summer. We are halfway through July. By the time this comes out, it'll be a little bit past that, but
Bless you.
thank you. But the point still stands. We don't have much of summer left, honestly. Well, I mean, if we were in school, we would. Come on, stop! Don't make that face.
I don't want summer to be over already.
Well, I mean, if we were still in school, I think it would be a little bit more dramatic because we would be going back to school in like the middle of August or whatever. But the reason why summer almost being over is cool, a couple of things. One, we get closer to our birthdays in October. That's kind of a big deal. Two, we get closer to like sweater weather and fall and like chillier days and Halloween and like the best holidays ever. Come on, man! You're gonna tell me that the period between Halloween and New Year's Eve is not the best? Okay, well, December kind of sucks,
But I haven't swam yet. I didn't swim last year either.
I haven't swam yet either.
Damn it.
You know what we got to do? We're gonna go up to Michigan because I have not taken you up to Michigan yet. Anyone who is familiar with the New Buffalo area in Michigan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I gotta take you to Cherry Beach, buddy, and we gotta go to either Redemax or the Stray Dog because everyone in the Chicagoland area seems to have Stray Dog merch where it's just a scruffy dog and it's a restaurant with like a patio and it's like looking out on the beach and it's like on this like pier like walkway. Oh, dude, what?
That's where we went for the bachelor party. I've been there.
You've been to the Stray Dog?
Yes.
So
On the beach by the pier. Yeah.
so like you saw the like the ice cream like Nancy's across the street and like there are a couple of like gift shops
Uh-huh.
with like inflatables on the outside and
That's where I got my pirate ship.
I just learned about the pirate ship today.
I bought a pirate ship from New Buffalo, Michigan.
Yeah, how many people can you fit on it?
Like 3.
It's this big. So the Wasp, Ant-Man, and Yellow Jacket. Those are the three. Those are the 3 people you can fit on the ship.
Remember how brutally Yellow Jacket died?
Yeah, one of the worst deaths in the MCU.
Fucking crazy.
You're blowing up. Do you want to take
I
that?
think just my band chat.
I mean, you can answer those.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Do you want your? Oh,
I got it over here.
okay.
Boy, have I had an interesting week.
Tell us about it, David.
Holy shit, do I have updates?
Tell us about your interest. Oh, right. Yeah, I know about some of these updates, right?
You know about both of them. Because on the same day, I got approved for my internship, which ends on my birthday.
Oh, shit.
So it's at 3 weeks.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I get to drive up to Chicago from 9 to 5. So I get to deal with that fun traffic for a couple months.
Yeah.
And the best part is I drive east to get there, so I have the sun beating down on me. And then I drive west coming back,
So
and I again have the sun beating on me.
I mean, because in the summertime in the Midwest, the sun doesn't go down until like.
At least for now.
At least for now.
Because in 2 weeks from today, I am moving to my condo.
Woo! David's moving! Ow! Ow!
Yep. The
He's
same
getting
day.
the fuck out of here.
Same day, I got the call like, "Hey, congratulations, you got the condo."
Yeah.
And it's kind of hella nice, not gonna lie.
Yeah?
And I fully plan to have, like, the main room be like a studio.
Sure.
So I'm gonna have like all my instruments.
Oh, the main room?
All the music stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
All of our music posters along the walls.
Sure, absolutely.
It's gonna be legit. It's gonna be legit.
I don't even know if it would be feasible to because I know we have all the recording stuff here, but I do think it would be cool to get some footage in the in the condo at some point.
Yeah, once it's actually done.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, I think that's the dream for like content creators is to have like a space specifically for your content, and it's like even like there's so many YouTubers and like people on TikTok that do sort of commentary stuff where their videos look really professional, like they got everything like squared out in their so it's like specific thing goes here and like the camera angle is the same every time because the camera just like sits there. But like it's just in a room, that's dedicated to that. They have like a green screen in there, so it's like, I'm gonna go make a video. You just go into the room. Here it's my bedroom. No, it's not that professional, but I digress. Congratulations, pal, on the internship and the new condo. Big life steps for you. I'm very proud of you, and you should be too. He's a great guy, and he deserves all the good things that are coming his way, including but not limited to our really lucky Dokkan summons like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. For those of you who aren't familiar, Dragon Ball Z, we did an episode on this mobile game called Dokkan Battle, where it's basically just a glorified like crane machine game where there are characters in the game that you can only get, when they come around and they're released in certain windows. Well, it just celebrated its 7th anniversary, and we're kind of in the middle of that celebration. And they put out 2 really good characters, and we woke up the morning that they were released, and we summoned at the same time, and we got both of the characters that we wanted.
At the same time.
At the same time. And so eventually I'm going to edit and release that video. I don't care if it's like not timely enough, but this celebration is going to go on until August. Like, we got plenty of time. So there's that. Condo, internship.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. What else? We got some. There are plenty of fun things. Stranger Things just ended. I started watching Stranger Things from season 1 because I haven't caught up. And David.
And I just finished it.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I wanted to catch up with it was one, like my roommate started watching it, and it seems like anything anyone's talking about on TikTok at the moment is just Stranger Things. But also, the character Eddie Munson plays Master of Puppets in the last episode of season 4. And the coolest part about that is, I'm trying to think of the last time that, maybe with like the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, or, I mean, same thing with Kate Bush in Running Up That Hill. But there are certain cultural events and shows and movies and stuff that re-release or re-expose older music or video games or cultural trends to a newer generation or multiple new generations. And I can't tell you how many people I've seen that are like under the age of 20 that are now talking about Metallica. Like, it's fucking awesome. It's so cool because, like, I don't know, man. We were just talking about like how bands kind of like phase out of relevancy, or relevance. And Metallica is never going to be one of those bands. And it took me this whole event to realize that Metallica is always going to be popular. They are always going to be the metal band.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, I mean, metal is literally in their name. But no, I watch a movie guy, Sean Chandler. And he made a video on Stranger Things, and like he was like, yeah, leave in the comments if like you were exposed to Metallica in this episode. And so many people were like, yeah, me, I just described them. I saw someone was like, I knew Metallica, but I've never heard Master of Puppets. I'm like, what the hell? How is that even possible?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it makes it, because if you think about it, Enter Sandman is like, if you, not that they're one-hit wonders, but if you think about like one song from every major artist, like Journey's got Don't Stop Believin', Bon Jovi's got Living on a Prayer, I would say like Metallica has two sides of it, one for like the general public and two for like metalheads. Like if you don't listen to Metallica but you're a metalhead, you know Master of Puppets. And if you're just like a regular person, you know Enter Sandman. Because Enter Sandman's been in a lot of things, but yeah, man. And apparently the actor that plays Eddie Munson actually knows how to play that on guitar. So like when they were filming that was like his actual like feed from the guitar is like playing Master of Puppets. Nice. So yeah, good for him, man. I definitely got a lot to catch up on. But I started season 1 again recently.
Yeah, because season 4 is, oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
It's so long.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure, I know there's going to be a season 5, so we may or may not, I mean, that's going to be 2023. Are we still going to be doing the podcast in 2023? I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I hope so.
I hope so too. I mean, because there are a couple of podcasts that I watch that are like episode 300 something, and I'm like, that's insane. That's like multiple years. We could do that. But yeah, so I think Stranger Things is going to end up being one of those that we talk about. Barry, hopefully, is a show that we talk about because David started Barry. Breaking Bad is a show that we're going to talk about because
already did. No, we
kind of covered it.
Yeah, we touched Better Call. Oh yeah, Better Call Saul started again.
Yeah.
And first episode, another character gone. It's like, damn, man.
That sucks, dude. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on, and I have to keep reminding myself every time that we feel like we don't have content for the podcast. I'm reminded that like there's plenty of stuff out there.
It's just games. Games were kind of running.
Games we're running out of. We kind of played around with the idea of like shifting our focus to like retro games because a lot of retro games you can beat in a shorter amount of time. Because there's, for every Persona 5, there's like 10 OG Legend of Zeldas or like Contra or whatever, where like the games aren't super long, but they do have really difficult parts of the games to incentivize, people like actually playing them. So, we might do that. We might just, because it's unlike music and unlike movies or TV shows, like it's so much harder to commit yourself to like beating a game, because like with a movie or a show, like you can put that shit on in the background or like, you don't have to pay full attention to. Obviously, like you want it to grab your attention if it's good and if you like it, but with a video game, you have to be present. You have to be like playing it,
Yeah.
So that's why it's a little tougher. So like, we still have. I think we still have stuff to talk about as far as video games go, but we haven't hit the bottom of the barrel yet, buddy.
Hell yeah.
Speaking of the bottom of the barrel, no, not speaking of, but we got a couple of fun topics today. We're gonna start with Ms. Marvel, which David didn't watch, but the only important part of the series that you have to see as like a Marvel fan. We watched together, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. I watched the show, we'll talk about my thoughts on that. Bon Jovi, we're talking Bon Jovi today. I don't know, we've been talking about 80s artists for like the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a trend moving forward too. And then we're going to talk about Super Mario Odyssey, because that's one of the few games recently that we've both beaten and haven't talked about on the podcast yet.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, man. So the state of the MCU is in a really weird spot at the moment because, much like in the comic continuity, you start much like the MCU did, introducing heroes one at a time, and then building up to these big crossover events. and we had the luxury of not really knowing what to expect with the first saga of the Infinity Saga of the MCU. So every movie that came out was building to something and was very, very exciting. Even when it wasn't really building to much, like in the first Iron Man movie, when the only bit of crossover you got was the Samuel L. Jackson cameo at the end. And then we have Infinity War and Endgame and the big payoff moments that result in levels of hype unknown to the human brain until that very moment that you were within and experiencing that event. But again, like the comics, once you have a big crossover event like that, you have to start at the beginning all over again, because you can't just go from one big crossover event to another. It kind of diminishes the excitement and the hype of it all. But movie audiences aren't used to that, and now that we have Disney Plus shows in the mix, it kind of makes the whole activity of keeping up with the MCU that much more tiring, because it's a lot less exciting at the moment than leading up to Infinity War, and there's a lot more to cover. So if a show or a movie doesn't particularly interest you, it's a lot harder to convince audiences to pay attention to every single thing. So with Ms. Marvel, I would say this is, what, the first show that you said pass for?
Yes.
Yeah. Why is that? Was it just
only because it's just it's too much at this point. Like at this point, especially since I was already watching Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Which is a gauntlet in of itself.
That's true.
And I was like, I'll see what people are saying about Miss Marvel, and it's the same thing. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like every single Marvel show has been just okay.
Yeah.
Or just boring. Some of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, I'm not gonna bother.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have better things to do now.
Which is fair, because I feel like when you get to a certain point like this, what I found in the MCU in Phase 4 so far is that there's a lot more creative freedom, at least to a larger extent than there were in past phases. Like, sure, there's still a tendency to end different shows and movies and stuff with very similar, the same way that, like, the one criticism of the MCU was that every movie had to end with a big sky beam, And it's like, yeah, there's still a little bit of that in the MCU now. But, like, Multiverse of Madness was a Sam Raimi film, and Love and Thunder is a Taika Waititi film, for better or for worse, and there's a lot less emphasis on continuity and crossover with other known properties and stuff like that. And Ms. Marvel is the same way. I liked Ms. Marvel, and I don't know where I would rank it in my Disney Plus ranking, but I was telling David earlier, I think I enjoyed it overall a little bit more than Moon Knight. I think it kind of ties with Moon Knight, in my opinion, but the thing that kind of makes it stand out is, one, it follows Kamala Khan, who is the first Pakistani hero in the MCU, and, like, in the comics, I'm pretty sure, too. So that's very cool as far as, like, representation goes. And then also, it's another... We haven't seen this in a really long time, but it's a hero in high school, and she's younger, and she's just figuring out what her powers are. Because, like, we've had, like, Kate Bishop in the MCU, and we've seen, Florence Pugh as Yelena. Forget what her last name in the MCU is. I don't know. I just call her Yelena? I'm sorry. Flo, I love you. But we haven't seen a hero, like, start to get good, with training sequences with their new powers and stuff like that. So that was a refreshing kind of take on this. So, yeah, I feel like I enjoyed it for the most part. There were definitely some parts that, like, dragged, and there were some emotional beats that didn't always hit. But, yeah, there were some moments that made me tear up a little bit, and there were some moments that got me hype. And spoilers for Ms. Marvel, I guess, if you haven't seen it, but... yeah, she gets to say "embiggen" in the last episode, and you get to see her really, like, use her powers in a substantial way past, like, the smaller ways that she'd been using it in the show up until that point. You get to see, like, the different phases of her costume, You get to see Avengers Con in the first episode, which is a big plot point in the Avengers game, which I played through like last year. Yeah, and I think the supporting cast is really fun too. Like particularly, I like the dad and I like her brother. I think her brother is like my favorite character in the show. He's just so funny, and yeah. But you know, things that like I didn't really like. And sorry if this seems a little one-sided, but I think this is like the first, like since Breaking Bad, like show or movie that like only one of us has like seen. So you know, it's mostly. Sorry if it's mostly me talking. But yeah, no, I mean, as far as things that I didn't like, I think there was a whole like episode of backstory, which is important to the plot, but it introduces characters that I don't know. I was definitely like on my phone for most of that episode, and I think the CG, you can tell that like the Disney Plus show budget for CG isn't as high as the movie's budget, at least at this point. I think the way that they changed Kamala's powers from the comics is basically just a big FU to the Inhumans as a concept. So the Inhumans, there's a really interesting backstory as far as how, like, why the MCU and why Marvel is treating the Inhumans the way that they are at this point. So, yeah, the Inhumans in the comics are very much like mutants, where there's like, you know, they aren't like given superpowers, like, you know, super soldier serum or like, you know, whatever, but they're like born with these powers. In the comics, they get them from like the Terrigen Mist, and they're regular humans, and then they develop powers through that. But the Inhumans, as far as I know, are like aliens, and you know, Black Bolt is the king of the Inhumans, and they made a show on ABC which tanked and did not do very well. But in the comics, there was a huge, I guess, not war, but when Fox still owned the rights to X-Men, Marvel as a company was like, okay, well, if you're going to make money off of this property, we're going to stop making the X-Men comics, we're going to stop making X-Men toys, we're going to stop including X-Men in like all of the games and stuff, just to kind of like get at Fox for owning those characters and making so much money off of them. And eventually, it got to a point where Marvel kind of tried to replace the X-Men with the Inhumans because their role in the comics were kind of similar, like similar enough. And
copy my homework, just change a little bit so you won't notice.
Yeah, right. So like, you know, so they were really pushing the Inhumans and kind of phasing out the X-Men, and then they just bought Fox. So now, in a cruel twist of irony, they're undoing a lot of the focus that has been set on the Inhumans now that they have mutants back. So in this show, Kamala Khan is not an Inhuman like she is in the comics, but instead she's a mutant. And we can confirm that it is the X-Men type of mutant because the moment that her friend, I think his name is Bruno, because one character in the show keeps calling him Brian. Like the whole show, he calls him Brian, and he's like, "My name's Bruno, man." Like I feel. But Bruno is like the friend, and he's like very smart, and he's going to Caltech, and you know, and so he discovers that her genes aren't like her family's in that there's a mutation. And when he says mutation, the X-Men theme that they played in Multiverse of Madness when Professor X showed up, the ba-na-na-na-na-na, plays when he mentions mutation. So it confirms that mutants are in the MCU, like, and not just a part of the Illuminati, but they are in the MCU, and Kamala Khan is a mutant, not an Inhuman. So between that and basically like murdering Black Bolt and Inhuman, I mean they murder Professor X too, but like Black Bolt basically gets nothing to do in Multiverse of Madness. It's basically like Marvel, like the MCU is like flipping off Inhumans and trying to replace them with mutants and like hype up mutants again. So aside from being a mutant, there's also a post-credit scene where it was filmed by the crew that's filming The Marvels, like the Captain Marvel sequel. Brie Larson shows up because Kamala's bangle, I think, her wristband, starts freaking out, and then she warps out of space and in-warps Brie Larson, and she sees Kamala's room that has a bunch of, like, Captain Marvel paraphernalia around, and so she starts freaking out. She's like, oh, no, you know. And that's it. So I can guarantee that's going to be in the Captain Marvel movie, and maybe a plot point of the next movie is going to be this found family theme where, you know, Kamala Khan meets Carol Danvers finally, and then, what is it, Monica Rambeau? Because I think Maria is the mom. Yeah, Monica is probably going to be swept up in this, you know, whooshing in and out of space, and they all find each other and become the Marvels. So, overall, I think it's a fine show. I definitely think it's, like, if you're not a big Ms. Marvel fan, or if you don't have the time to really commit to watching, you know, the whole show, then at least, like, watch the last bit, because that's what's going to have significance, like, moving forward within the entire continuity of the MCU. So, Mutants and Captain Marvel's back. So, good stuff.
I'm sorry, we're having really big problems with this microphone cable.
Yeah, as you can hear right now, the mic is kind of clipping. And it was doing so well.
I have to sit perfectly still.
Yeah.
Just like this. Anyway, we're talking about Bon Jovi now.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about Bon Jovi specifically because in episode 3 of Ms. Marvel, so we find out that her mom is a big Bon Jovi fan, and so for the brothers' wedding they hire a Bon Jovi cover band, but because the bad guys have to show up to the wedding and start wrecking shit, there's a whole action sequence set to, I'm pretty sure it's Living on a Prayer, and it's really fun, and I really like the choreography and everything, but it got me thinking, what about Bon Jovi? Is that, I feel like it's a band that everyone knows, because there are a couple of really popular songs from the 80s, and then they mellowed out and they kind of fell off the edge of obscurity, which is a cool name for a metal album, so write that down. Edge of obscurity. You're not writing anything down.
I can't move.
Nah, that's fair. So, I wanted to talk about Bon Jovi, but specifically like the trend that happens with old 80s bands when they start getting older and they stop being able to perform the way that they used to and shift their musical styles. Because it happens with a lot of bands that we had listened to on like old radio stations, like old rock radio stations like 97.9 The Loop, or I don't think The Drive really played a whole lot of classic rock, but you know, it was just the shit that we were listening to in middle school.
Yeah.
You know, so before we even dive into the life of Bon Jovi, do you have any thoughts about like their music in general?
I mean, I've never met like a big fan. You know, like who the hell out there is like John Bon Jovi for life, getting tattoos. I mean, of course there's people out there, but it's like, it's just one of those bands where it's like, yeah, I'll just get the greatest hits, I guess.
Yeah. Bonus Mom Amber?
I mean, my dad had Slippery When Wet. I've heard the album.
Yeah. People like Slippery When Wet.
That's because that has Living on a Prayer and Wanted Dead or Alive, I think.
And I think it has You Give Love a Bad Name, too.
Yes, it does. Which, Wanted Dead or Alive does have the coolest intro ever.
Yeah.
Rivaled only by Foreplay by Boston.
Oh, yeah. Dude, we gotta talk about Boston sometime.
Yeah, both of those. Oh, that acoustic intro, man, is so good.
Yeah. It was definitely one of those songs that, like, if you got an acoustic guitar and you looked up, like, top acoustic guitar songs to learn, that was on the list. Absolutely it was. 100%.
Yeah, and then, like, they had Living on a Prayer in Guitar World Tour,
yeah,
which I played. Mall Cop uses Runaway in a scene that I always think of whenever I hear that song.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, dude, it's just, I don't know. I never go see them live, definitely. You know?
I would probably only see them live if they were opening for someone else.
So if you're like forced to.
Yeah, basically. Well, I know. So I know people specifically. My mom and then my other mom, bonus mom Amber, that are both really into Bon Jovi, or at least were really into Bon Jovi at some point. Specifically, the phase of their careers where they sort of transitioned to more, I don't even want to say country rock, but if you listen to, what's the song? Who Says You Can't Go Home by Bon Jovi. That is a country rock song, if I've ever heard one. And what's weird is that seems to be the trend for like a lot of artists as they get older, specifically like rock artists. Like there's just something about country music that rides the line of like rock and easy accessible pop, you know, with like big choruses and catchy melodies and stuff, and choruses that you can sing along to. And like obviously not every band from the 80s has done that. Like I don't know, Metallica never really did that fully. Like the only times that they ever did
Mama
was
said.
There you go.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the covers, you know, turn the page and shit.
Yeah. And but Bon Jovi was one of the biggest bands when I was growing up that really did that, because like I said, my mom was a huge fan. She got the CD Have a Nice Day that had It's My Life on it. And like It's My Life isn't very like country rock, but I don't know. It kind of was like,
sounds like a boy, like I can hear like the Backstreet Boys doing that.
Yeah, me too.
It's my life. You know, like four backup singers, you know?
Yeah.
I can hear it.
It's now or never.
Yeah, it's a boy band.
I ain't gonna live forever.
That's a boy band song.
I just wanna live while I'm alive.
Also,
what a dumb fucking line. I just wanna live while I'm alive? What else are you gonna do? You fucking idiot. That's still being alive.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, but Steve-O really hates Bon Jovi.
Steve-O? Didn't you go see Steve-O live?
I did see Steve-O live.
What does he hate about Bon Jovi? What kind of beef does he have with John?
Well, because he grew up like you know, the 80s like metal dude.
Yeah.
Like Motley Crue and shit. And I don't know, there's a clip on YouTube of him talking about some of those bands. Mm-hmm. And about how like John Bon Jovi was kind of a cunt or something. Oh. I forget specifically what he did, but he was like fuck Bon Jovi. And I was like, oh damn.
Huh. That's big words.
Apparently he's an asshole, but I don't know.
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if news came out and like half of those artists, like half of musical artists in general, are probably huge assholes. Just like half of real world people are assholes. So, look to your left and look to your right. One of those
good
people.
Posture.
Is it? I was gonna say
According
one of
to Filthy Frank, it is.
Oh.
Look to your left. Look to your right. Well, I'll be damned. That's some good posture.
I was just gonna say one of those people is an asshole, statistically speaking. Come on.
Well, there's no one to my left, but Vanessa's to my right.
There's no one to my right, but Vanessa's on my...
Vanessa's the asshole.
Vanessa's the asshole. I mean, technically, from where she's sitting, one of us is on the left and one of us is on the right.
Oh, yeah?
Fuck you!
Who's it gonna be?
I'll be the asshole. I'll take the bullet. Anyway, not to get too off topic, but I don't know, man. I am not here for the countrification of old metal bands. And like, I would say that like to a certain degree, like Bon Jovi was a hair metal band.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird to see because it hasn't really ever happened with any. I would say rock artists nowadays they won't mellow out, but they'll transition to more like pop music. You know, like and there's like still soft pop, which was
because it's like what you're gonna be 70 out there talking about fucking sex and shit still. Like,
right.
Get out of here, man.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Like, sometimes you're an artist like Paul McCartney, where you're writing music in your prime that's, like, not about that sort of stuff, you know? So you can still, like, get away with singing it as an adult, because, like, the music has more substance, you know? But yeah, man, I can't imagine half the pop artists that are around today, like, performing in their 60s and 70s
like,
and still...
I think it's funny when, like, Metallica plays, like, Whiplash or something now.
Yeah.
You know, talk about trashing hotel rooms. It's like, no.
You have kids, man.
That's why I don't think Kill 'Em All really holds up that well.
No.
Just because it's like, it's teenager rock.
Yeah.
And you can't be still doing that
Yeah.
in your 60s. Otherwise, it's weird.
Yeah, so, like, to a certain degree, I understand why it happens. But it's just weird to see. But, like, hey, man, if it reinvigorates your career, then by all means switch genres, even if it's to country. I just think it's funny that so many artists from the 80s specifically, like or like even the 70s, like we were talking, like Robert Plant did like an album with Alison Krauss, who's like I wouldn't even say country, but she's like a folk singer. So there's plenty of artists that gravitate towards softer music, and I guess if you're used to the guitar, softer music for a while just meant acoustic guitar, and if you still wanted big anthems, you would do country. But yeah, man, Runaway, Living on a Prayer, You Give Love a Bad Name. The song Bed of Roses, the band Hinder did a cover of, and I remember unironically really liking their cover of Bed of Roses. It's My Life. It's My Life. It's a Borat joke. I still haven't seen Borat.
Fuck, dude.
That's gonna be the Vince episode, is The Weeknd, Borat, and Kingdom Hearts, because I know he wants to do Kingdom Hearts. What an array.
Absolutely.
What a weird episode that's gonna be.
Yeah.
But I guess speaking of weird, Super Mario Odyssey is really fucking weird. If you get down to it, it's just a body swapping game.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a magical hat that if you put it on someone else, it lets you control them from the inside out, including, but not limited to, Tyrannosaurus Rex, an onion,
A frog,
a Goomba,
the fish,
electricity. You can become electricity.
trees,
Yeah.
manhole cover, taxis.
You can be a taxi.
Even the word like M, an A, an R, an I, and a U, O.
Yeah.
To spell out Mario in New Donk City, that's how you get a moon.
New Donk City. Mario.
But damn,
Mario.
it's such a good game.
Yeah.
It was a really good game.
Yeah. It took me a really long time to play it, but I remember when I don't know when I got the game, but I had a Switch and I had a couple of games already, and I knew for like 2 years leading up to me getting a Switch, I kept telling people buying a Switch would be worth it even if all I bought was the new Mario game and the new Zelda game. And eventually
100%.
I realized that I did not have either of those games. So I think for like Christmas or like my birthday or whatever, I asked my parents and I was like, can I get Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I didn't play them for a really long time. I still haven't beat Breath of the Wild, much to this guy's chagrin.
I've 100%ed it twice.
Yeah, in the time that it's taken me to beat the first
Son of a bitch.
the elephant boss. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Hey, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. But I did beat Odyssey, and I think you were there for most of my playthrough.
Yeah, we played it together because I controlled the hat. Which,
That's
yeah,
right.
The second person can just straight up control the hat.
Yeah, which is really cool. Like when Mario throws it out, you can like control like where it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, David helped me beat the game in plenty of spots. But yeah, I think Donkey says it best in his review of Odyssey. It's one of the most inventive games ever, and it's just a testament to Nintendo's creativity when it comes to their IPs. It's like no other company is doing it like Nintendo, and no other company has such an insane like success rate as Nintendo. And it's just like every one of these original IPs are like coming out and they're like making a name for themselves. Like I remember when like Splatoon first got announced. Like I never played Splatoon, but people fucking know Splatoon really well, and like the Inklings are like part of it is Nintendo kind of forcing the Inklings like into other games, like cross promotion and stuff. But they're iconic characters now in their own right, you know. And like every time a Mario game comes out and every time a Zelda game comes out, like people are always talking about it because it always like breaks the mold for that franchise. And it's, I don't know, man, it's just so cool to see, and it's even cooler to experience because like I don't know about you, but I did not grow up playing Mario or Zelda. Like I did not have
me either
a home console, like a Nintendo home console until the Switch. Like I didn't have a Wii, I didn't have a GameCube, I didn't have an N64. I was a PlayStation guy, and then I was an Xbox guy, and then I was a PlayStation guy again before I finally got the Switch because I was like, well, I need to play Pokemon games now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I couldn't even tell you, like, oh yeah, it felt like playing Mario 64, or it felt like playing Sunshine or Galaxy. That was my first home console Mario game. So I had no expectations. I just knew that everyone really liked it. And sure enough, it plays like a dream, and it's a really fun game, and the levels are really inventive and creative, and it's just like new mechanic after new mechanic over and over and over again. And it never gets boring. Like, I don't think I was ever really bored of Odyssey.
Honestly, I think Odyssey sets an unfair expectation for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, honestly, I have not beaten a lot of Marios, but I have played a lot of them.
Yeah.
And Odyssey like stands above them easily.
Which is really wild. Well, because you played, didn't you have Mario 64 on the DS?
Yes, I had that was my first DS game.
Oh, really?
So I've been playing that game for like over half my life.
Yeah.
And that one's really good too. Like, yeah, 64 DS. If only you didn't have to play it with a D-pad, but you know,
right.
Whatever. And then I later beat 3D Land not too long ago.
Oh yeah, and Bowser's Fury.
I started it, but
because that was Josh's, right?
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because one of my first games on the Game Boy was the repackaging of Super Mario 2, which I forget what they called it on the Game Boy, but it was Super Mario 2, and you got to play as like you had your choice of like Mario, Luigi, Peach, or Toad. And,
I had that one too.
Yeah, and then it came with the original Super Mario game that was like the arcade game where like you had to, you know, beat the Koopas and kick the shells and everything. And yeah, man. So that was my first Mario game, but I remember, people were going crazy for like 64 and Sunshine, and like when Galaxy came out, I don't know, like in hindsight, like when I listened to Gusty Gusty Gardens, the soundtrack for that level, it brings a tear to my eye because it's just like, I don't know. It just encompasses the freedom and the whimsy of Mario so well. I first heard it in Donkey's review of Odyssey, and I thought it was like from an Odyssey game. I thought it was from Odyssey, and then there was a channel on YouTube, or a YouTuber by the name of Insane in the Rain, I think is his name, and he is a composer, and he composes orchestral arrangements of video game music. And there was a medley that he did that included the Gusty Gusty Gardens melody and the instrumental part of it. And the first time I heard that, I legit cried. I was like, this is beautiful. And then I saw another YouTube channel called 8-Bit Music Theory do an analysis of why that specific song is like the best Mario song of all time, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really cool. Mario's just really cool. I don't know. I just it's a very cold take to say that. I don't think anyone hates Mario. He's one of the most iconic video game characters of all, arguably the most iconic video game character of all time. And it's just cool to see his parent company continue to treat him with the reverie and respect that he's earned over the years, or he's helped earn for the company over the years. So, yeah, man, if you haven't played Mario Odyssey or don't have a Switch, what are you doing? Why are you listening to our podcast? You like when we talk about freaking 80s bands? You like when we talk about the MCU? Nah, man. You like when we talk about video games.
God, that ending level is so goddamn hard, though. Like, the darker side of the moon is like the final challenge of the game, which I still never beat. I mean, granted, yeah, I haven't tried it in, like, years, but...
Yeah. Yeah, man.
That was a fun game. That came out in October 2017, and Zelda was March 2017.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow. Those two games, 100% Switch is worth it alone.
Yeah.
I'd even say alone for Zelda.
Yeah.
But you throw Odyssey in there too? Shit, man.
That's quintessential. Quintessential Nintendo right there. And I feel like you could say that about any system. Like, oh yeah, get an N64 to play Ocarina of Time and Mario 64. Like, get a GameCube to play Wind Waker and Sunshine.
Yeah.
Get a Wii to play, was it Twilight Princess and Galaxy? It's like
Twilight Princess was GameCube, but it was later ported to the Wii.
Oh,
no,
really?
the Wii Zelda was Skyward Sword, which is
people really liked it upon release.
Mixed bag.
Yeah. I heard that on the Switch it does a lot better.
Yeah, but I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest.
That's fair. But yeah, man, I mean, we got Breath of the Wild 2 coming out. Maybe there's a new Mario game coming out. Yeah, I know. It's going to be like another year before that happens.
The goddamn day. I don't care what I'm doing, where I'm working, I am taking a week off when Breath of the Wild 2 comes out.
I think that's fair. That is only fair.
I'm going to lose my shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, and that'll be probably its own episode. It's just Breath of the Wild.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, the same. There's another thing that it's going to be its own thing when it comes out. I'm sure there are going to be multiple episodes that we do that's just like, all right, here's the topic of today, and it's just one thing. But I don't know. For now, I guess we can keep this episode a little bit short because the last couple have been really long.
Yeah.
And you know, we have stuff to still figure out, and there'll probably be an announcement or two coming out soon in regards to like our upload schedule and things like that with all of these exciting things happening in our lives. David getting his new condo and internship. I got a couple of gigs coming up. I'm playing my first festival in a very long time at the end of July, and then I might have some exciting news to share soon, but we'll see. But yeah, everybody, be sure to check out our socials and check out Bon Jovi. If you've never listened to Bon Jovi before, play a Mario game.
Bon Jovi albums ranked coming never.
Coming never. Stay tuned till next week when we'll drop the next episode. Follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channels. Link in bio on YouTube if you were paying attention. And we will see you in the next one. In the meantime, I have to go help out a camper whose wiener got stuck in a mouse trap that we set in the cafeteria. I mean, you know, kids at that age, they're just so curious.
Oh, no, it's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, bye. Stop that. Stop it.